So before the storm hit, I live in a house that is surrounded by really super tall pine trees and oak trees. So my husband and I talked it out, and he decided he was going to stay behind and that I was going to take our two kids, who are 4 and 2, to my sister's, who lives in the mountains, so she's out of harm's way. And then we went to Florence, South Carolina, where my aunt and uncle live, stayed the night there to do the rest of the journey the next morning, and then woke up. Florence had downgraded to a 2 at that point, and they had said that she would be down to a 1 by the time she hit Wilmington. And then they brought in the news that she's going to sit here and she's going to stay. At that point, I knew I'm not going to get back into town if I go all the way to the mountains and try to come back home to see the damage and help my husband out. So the kids and I got back in the car, headed back home, driving down 74. There's a huge line of people coming towards us, and I'm the only one coming back to Wilmington. And no tree damage to our house. We lost a lot of trees around us. Lost a little bit of our shed. A tree fell in the ditch behind our chicken coop and just kind of laid right on top of it, but no damage there. A lot of damage to our fence. But the major damage that we had in our house was flooding. We live in a split level home, and so we have 3 different floors that kind of go in this little motion here. And we have a water mark outside of the house at 30 inches, one in our garage that we found at 30 inches, and then in the 20-ish range in our downstairs bathroom in our den. Well, after the flooding happened and it got bad enough, on Saturday we sent my kids to stay at my parents' house. They didn't have any damage of any kind, so they went to stay with them. My husband and I stayed Sunday night, the night that all the tornado warnings came in every 30 minutes, and when all that torrential rain came down. Around 1:30 we went downstairs to check, and the water's up at our knees. And so we went into our garage. We'd already gotten up most of our stuff. We went into the garage to save what kind of electronic stuff we could. The washer and dryer, they're gone. Our hot water heater's gone. But we had our mower and our friend's mower in there. We're sitting there with a jack, trying to jack them up to keep the motors out of the water, because that's expensive and they're not covered by insurance. And then the next morning when we woke up, the waters were still high. Standing in my front yard, it was at my hip. At that point we decided to get what we needed, what we could get out of our house, take it to my parents, and we stayed there for about a week. To get the stuff out of our house, we had a little John boat that's small enough that it doesn't have a motor on it. Put all of our stuff in there, emptied out our fridge and our freezer as best we could, got clothes, got all of our important documents, stuff like that, and just floated it from our house to the road, packed it all up in our cars, and stayed at my parents' for a week. I've been trying to get my house back to normal for my kids, because they're 4 and 2. They're dealing with it as best as they can. It was really strange for them to not be in our house for over a week, knowing that, hey, our house is 2 miles that way, but we're not staying there, we're staying here, because the house is kind of out of sorts. So that's why it was so important to me to get things back up and running as much as we can, to go ahead and stay there for the kids and get them back on schedule. And so it's kind of been our journey, is getting back on track and trying to do all that. We've been back home. We're mostly without AC. We've got fans going. No internet yet, but internet's not important at this point. Now we're just waiting to rebuild.